welcome to the Webcast for Monday, August 17th. I'm South Ops meteorologist Jonathan O'Brien. Visible satellite this morning shows some high cloudiness drifting through the region, associated with a cutoff area of low pressure well to our south and west. We also continue to have a marine influence in place, most prevalent across the central coast, as rebuilding high pressure over the desert southwest begins to limit the marine influence over the south coast. The high cloudiness will likely become more expansive across the region this afternoon, providing a filtered sunshine type of day. Here's a look at some of last night's humidity recoveries. These are the max RH values since midnight. The recent troughing pattern has brought much better recoveries relative to what we had been seeing, leading to shorter burn periods and a less volatile fire environment. And we saw that largely carry into last night as well. However, we did see some substantial drying trends in a lot of spots, especially a lot of the Southern California foothills and mountains, and that is a precursor of things to come this week. As we move into this new week, we're going to have some competing influences on our weather pattern, but ultimately we'll settle into a more typical summer pattern. It'll be a battle between rebuilding and rather strong high pressure over the desert southwest and lingering troughing influences offshore. But as is pretty typical this time of year, it looks like the ridge is going to be the more dominant feature, keeping our warming trend going. Here's a look at today's forecast highs. We're continuing a slow warming trend, and these numbers for today are really close to the seasonal average, upper 80s and 90s in the valleys, with 70s and 80s in the lower mountains. As we go through the next few days, the trend will remain in the warmer direction, but only gradually so. Here's a look at the highs by the time we get to Wednesday, and this should be about as warm as it gets in most of the region, with triple digits returning to some of the warmest valley locations. From there, we'll tend to level off and keep these very warm but not quite extreme heat conditions going through the rest of this week. The warmer weather will also come with some lower humidities relative to what we've been seeing. Humidity will remain a little bit elevated today, but minimums will drop into the range of about 12 to 25% in most areas from tomorrow through the rest of this week. We'll also start to see the reemergence of thermal belts and areas of fair to poor recoveries, though not as expansive as what we saw earlier this month. Winds will remain on the light side this week, with local and terrain effects dominating and no significant wind issues expected. The general flow will remain weakly onshore, and that ocean influence will also help keep temperatures in check for the coastal areas. Because of a more southwest flow aloft, we have gradually pushed the deeper monsoon moisture from last week out of the region. As a similar wind aloft continues, little or no thunderstorm activity is expected through Wednesday this week. But as high pressure strengthens and winds aloft become a little more south to southeast, at least isolated showers and thunderstorms will likely return to the mountains and deserts of Southern California, mainly east and south of I-15 from Thursday through early next week, and activity may extend into the Sierra over the weekend as well. And looking briefly at the longer range, while there is quite a bit of uncertainty, the current CPC outlook seemed to indicate more of the same ahead, with offshore troughing and a desert southwest high. If anything, the pattern next week may adjust to a little more influence from the troughing as high pressure nudges eastward, keeping the worst of the heat east of our region and leading to more in the way of seasonable warmth for us. Some monsoon influences may continue as well, though there are mixed signals on exactly how robust the monsoon will be into next week. The cooler, more humid, and showery pattern that developed last week really did a number on our fire danger indices, which had moved to their highest levels of the season by a wide margin leading into that event. The warmer pattern this week will start to trend us back towards more typical values for this time of year. Dead fuel moistures will be on gradual falling trends, and ERC values will climb, though we will not be reclaiming the levels that we saw earlier this month. Most low to mid-elevation live fuel types are also at or approaching critical levels, with live fuel moisture values of 55 to 75% common across much of the region. So in terms of large fire potential, we'll keep it in the moderate category today and well below normal for this time of year as our indices continue to only slowly recover. As we go through the week, expect fire potential to gradually increase with the warming and drying trend. Burn periods will lengthen and fuel receptivity will increase, with potential for significant growth on well-aligned starts, especially later this week. However, the lack of extreme heat, dryness, or significant wind will mean that we'll only bring potential back to around normal levels for this time of year by later in the week. The warmer weather could also lead to a gradual increase in activity on any fires that have quieted down over the past few days, and could lead to the discovery of a couple of new holdover fires from the recent lightning over the higher terrain. That's it for today's webcast. Thanks for joining us. Next one will be on Tuesday, August 18th.